Riverdale star Ryan Grantham has been sentenced to life in prison for killing his mother, according to multiple reports.
Once, they were Hollywood royalty who were gracing red carpets, cashing million-dollar checks, and living the ultimate dream. And now, they wake up to cold steel bars and prison chow. Some thought they were untouchable until reality hit like a gavel. These 20 fallen stars were canceled so bad that they are now rotting in jail. Number 1. William Hayden. For years, William Hayden was the tough-talking, gun-slinging dad on Sons of Guns, running Red Jacket Firearms like a larger-than-life action hero. But behind the scenes, his real life was far more sinister. In August 2014, the world learned the horrifying truth. Hayden wasn't just a firearms expert, he was a predator. His own daughter, Stephanie Hayden, accused him of sexual abuse, and as soon as she spoke out, other victims followed.
So why are you telling this story now? Why here? Why now?
Because I know that for one, my sister needs me. She needs someone that can speak for her.
The accusations were monstrous. Hayden had allegedly been assaulting minors for decades, including a young girl as far back as 1991. The trial was brutal. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture of a man who used his position of power and trust to manipulate and abuse. The details that surfaced were too disturbing to ignore. In April 2017, Hayden was convicted in Louisiana on 2 counts of aggravated rape and 1 count of forcible rape. The court sentenced him to 2 life terms plus 40 years for good measure. In other words, William Hayden will never walk free again.
Emotional and at times graphic testimony from witnesses took center stage today at the trial for reality TV star. Will Hayden is accused of several rape charges.
The former reality TV star now rots away in the Louisiana State Penitentiary, a far cry from his days of playing the all-American gun expert. Sons of Gun was swiftly canceled. His business crumbled, and the only thing he has left now is a prison cell where justice finally caught up with him. Number 2. Jared Fogle. For over a decade, Jared Fogle was America's favorite weight loss success story. The guy who lost 200 pounds eating Subway sandwiches. He was on commercials, talk shows, and even became a motivational speaker for kids. But while parents trusted him, Fogle was hiding a sickening secret. The walls started closing in around 2015 when an FBI raid at the home of Russell Taylor, his business partner and the head of the Jared Foundation, dug up a massive collection of child pornography. Investigators soon discovered Fogle himself was involved, and what they found was horrific. Fogle was viewing illegal content, and worse than that, he was actively pursuing minors, even offering money to have sex with underage girls. One of the most damning pieces of evidence came from secretly recorded conversations, where Fogle casually discussed his sick obsession. The FBI had years of proof, including disturbing text messages and travel records where he arranged illegal encounters. In November 2015, Jared Fogle pleaded guilty to possession of child pornography and traveling to engage in illicit sexual conduct with a minor. The judge didn't buy his attempts to remorse, and he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in federal prison.
Subway spokesperson Jared Fogle will spend the next 15 years behind bars after pleading guilty to sex crimes.
A federal judge issued the sentence after listening to 3 hours of testimony.
Now, instead of promoting sandwiches, Fogle spends his days behind bars in Inglewood Federal Correctional Institute in Colorado. He has tried multiple times to get his sentence reduced, but judges aren't budging. His release date is March 24, 2029. But even when he gets out, his reputation is forever ruined.
In a tearful statement in the court today, he said that he had been a positive role model. And now he said the toughest thing will be to explain this to his own children.
Number 3, Suge Knight. In the 1990s, Suge Knight was one of the most feared men in the music industry. As the co-founder of Death Row Records, he helped launch the careers of Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. But Suge was a businessman, but in disguise he was a walking storm of violence. For decades, Knight dodged legal trouble like a pro, assault charges, robbery, even accusations of being involved in Tupac's murder. But surprisingly, nothing stuck. But in 2015, Suge finally ran out of luck. It all went down on the set of Straight Outta Compton. Knight got into a heated argument with Clee Sloan, a former gang member turned actor. Moments later, Knight got into his truck, hit the gas, and ran over Sloan and Terry Carter, a music executive. Sloan survived, but Carter was crushed to death. Knight fled the scene but was quickly arrested. In his defense, he claimed it was self-defense, but the security footage told a different story. The video showed Knight deliberately running over both men, then backing up over Carter's body. Facing life in prison, Knight took a plea deal in 2018 by admitting to voluntary manslaughter.
Developing news now, former rap mogul Suge Knight is headed to prison for voluntary manslaughter. He ran down a man in the parking lot of a Compton burger stand about 3 years ago, and today he found out what his punishment's going to be. CBS 2's Cara Finstrom is there. Cara.
His sentence is 28 years behind bars, meaning he won't walk free until 2046, even if he lives that long. Number 4. Ryan Grantham. Ryan Grantham, once a promising young actor known for his roles in Riverdale and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, committed an unthinkable act that stunned both fans and the entertainment industry. On March 31, 2020, in their Squamish, British Columbia home, Grantham fatally shot his 64-year-old mother, Barbara Waite, in the back of the head while she played the piano. The motive he had will drive you crazy. Grantham later revealed he couldn't bear the thought of his mother witnessing the downward spiral his life had taken. But the story takes an even more disturbing turn. After the murder, Grantham maliciously documented his actions in a journal and recorded a video confession. He then loaded his car with firearms, ammunition, Molotov cocktails, and camping supplies, setting off with a plan to assassinate Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Prosecutors also accused Grantham of plotting to kill Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, alleging that he packed his car with 3 guns, ammunition, 12 Molotov cocktails, camping supplies, and a map with directions to Rideau Cottage in Ottawa, where the politician lives.
Yep, that's right. Fortunately, he abandoned this plan and turned himself into the Vancouver police the following day. In March 2020, Grantham pleaded guilty to second-degree murder. By September 2022, he was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for 14 years.
A former BC actor who shot and killed his own mother has been sentenced to life in prison. And as CTV's Angela Jung shows us, after he murdered his mom, he also planned on killing the Prime Minister and wasn't going to stop there.
Justice Kathleen Kerr, during sentencing, highlighted the tragic impact of the crime on Grantham's family and acknowledged his genuine remorse and efforts toward rehabilitation. Tired of expensive, low-effort script writers for your YouTube channel? Autoscripter.ai is the ultimate solution. Say goodbye to low-quality, poorly retention amateur scripts that fail to generate thousands of views for your channel. At a fraction of the cost, Autoscripter.ai helps your videos go viral. In just 3 steps, Autoscripter.ai creates a polished script tailored to your needs. Just input your title concept, select your tone and style. The intuitive interface makes editing and refining effortless, fast, smart, and trusted by hundreds of satisfied users who have already discovered the amazing tool. Start your free trial today and watch Autoscripter.ai transform your YouTube channel. Just click the link in the video description below now. Number 5. Justin Heath Smith, Austin Wolf. Better known by his stage name Austin Wolf, Justin Heath Smith was a prominent figure in the adult entertainment industry, celebrated for his performances and significant online following. However, in June 2024, his reputation was irrevocably tarnished. Smith was arrested and charged with the possession and distribution of child sexual abuse material.
We're learning this morning that the former head of Southfield School in Shreveport has been arrested on child pornography charges. Justin Smith, who you see on your screen, has served as the head of St. Anne's Episcopal School in Middletown, Delaware since July of last year. It is said that Smith used several online aliases to download and distribute explicit videos.
Between March 24th and March 28, 2024, Smith, using an anonymous account on the messaging app Telegram, exchanged hundreds of videos containing child pornography with another individual. These videos depicted heinous acts, including the abuse of children as young as infants. An undercover FBI agent later engaged with Smith's anonymous account. They were able to gather enough evidence that led to his identification and arrest. A search of Smith's Manhattan apartment on April 21, 2024, revealed an SD card containing hundreds of additional child sexual abuse videos, some involving children under the age of 12. Smith now faces federal charges, including distribution and receipt of child pornography, which carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years and a maximum of 20 years, as well as possession of child pornography, which carries a maximum sentence of 10 years. As of now, he remains in custody, awaiting trial. Number 6. Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage, Joe Exotic. Joseph Allen Maldonado Passage, commonly known as Joe Exotic, once captivated audiences with his lively persona and exotic animal park, as showcased in the Netflix series Tiger King. However, behind the spectacle lay a series of criminal activities that led to his downfall. Joe Exotic's animosity towards Carol Baskin, founder of Big Cat Rescue, was well documented. Their rivalry escalated over the years, with Exotic accusing Baskin of various misdeeds, including unfounded claims about her involvement in her husband's disappearance. This feud took a dark turn when Exotic attempted to hire individuals to murder Baskin. In 2019, he was arrested and later convicted on 2 counts of hiring hitmen to kill her. Beyond the murder-for-hire plots, Exotic was found guilty of multiple wildlife violations. He was convicted on 8 counts of violating the Lacey Act for falsifying wildlife records and 9 counts of violating the Endangered Species Act, which included the killing of 5 tigers and the illegal sale of tiger cubs. In January 2020, Joe Exotic was sentenced to 22 years in federal prison for his crimes.
Joe Exotic will submit to the White House. Earlier this year, Exotic, whose legal name, by the way, is Joseph Maldonado, big difference, was sentenced to 22 years in prison. Now, a jury convicted him for a murder-for-hire plot and for illegally selling and killing tigers.
Following appeals, a federal judge reduced his sentence by 1 year in January 2022, bringing it to 21 years. He is currently incarcerated at the Federal Medical Center, Fort Worth, with a projected release date in 2036. While in prison, Exotic has remained a figure of public interest. In October 2024, he announced his engagement to fellow inmate Jorge Marquez, expressing a desire to marry within the prison facility. Number 7. Tex Watson. Charles Denton Tex Watson was once the epitome of an all-American boy. He was intelligent, athletic, and deeply involved in his community. However, his life took a dark and unexpected turn when he became entangled in Charles Manson's notorious family. But what led this promising young man down such a sinister path? In the late 1960s, Watson moved to Los Angeles, where he crossed paths with Manson. Drawn into the cult's twisted ideology, Watson became one of Manson's most trusted followers. On the nights of August 8th and 9th, 1969, Watson led fellow members in the brutal Tate LaBianca murders, resulting in the death of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and several others. The nation was left in shock, wondering how someone like Watson could commit such heinous acts. Following his arrest in 1971, Watson was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Initially sentenced to death, his punishment was later commuted to life imprisonment after the California Supreme Court invalidated the state's death penalty statutes in 1972. Over the years, Watson has claimed to have found religion, becoming an ordained minister and authoring an autobiography. Despite multiple parole hearings, he remains incarcerated with little hope of release.
I was a naive Texas boy without a conscience of really right and wrong.
Number 8. Todd Chrisley. Todd Chrisley rose to fame as the patriarch of the reality TV show Chrisley Knows Best, which showcased his family's lavish lifestyle and his persona as a successful real estate mogul.
Where's the other one?
I don't know where the other one is.
Find the other one and lock it up.
But behind the opulent facade lay a web of financial deceit. In August 2019, Todd and his wife Julie were indicted on multiple counts including tax evasion, bank fraud, and wire fraud. Prosecutors alleged that the couple submitted false documents to banks to secure over $30 million in loans, which they used to fund their extravagant lifestyle. They were also accused of conspiring to defraud the IRS by evading federal income taxes. The couple maintained their innocence, but the evidence against them was substantial. In June 2022, a jury found both Todd and Julie guilty of all charges. Todd was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, while Julie received a 7-year sentence.
Judge is sending reality television star Todd Chrisley to prison for 12 years, and his wife Julie got 7 years. So the couple from Chrisley Knows Best were found guilty of fraud and tax crimes in June. Investigators say they used more than $30 million in fraudulent loans to live in luxury while flaunting it on television.
Their reality show was subsequently canceled, and their assets were seized to pay restitution and fines. Currently, Todd is incarcerated at the federal prison camp in Pensacola, Florida, with a projected release date in 2032. Number 9. Corey C. Murder Miller. Corey Miller, whose stage name is C. Murder, was a prominent figure in the late 1990s rap scene and the younger brother of hip-hop mogul Master P. He gained fame with hits like Down for My Ends and was poised for a successful career. But a fateful night in 2002 changed everything. On January 12, 2002, during a nightclub altercation in Harvey, Louisiana, 16-year-old Steve Thomas was fatally shot. Witnesses identified Miller as the shooter, leading to his arrest. The trial was fraught with controversy, including allegations of witness intimidation and recantations. Despite these issues, in 2009, Miller was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Miller has consistently maintained his innocence, and over the years, several witnesses have come forward to recant their testimonies, claiming they were pressured by authorities.
Key witnesses that identified New Orleans rapper Corey C. Murder Miller as the shooter in a 2002 nightclub killing in Harvey is now recanting his testimony.
Now, the witness now claims he was pressured by detectives to ID Miller and that investigators told him what to say.
His case has garnered support from public figures, including Kim Kardashian, who have called for a retrial. Despite these efforts, Miller remains incarcerated at the Louisiana State Penitentiary. Number 10. Lyle Menendez. Lyle Menendez, alongside his younger brother Eric, epitomized the image of privilege in late 1980s Beverly Hills. Born into wealth, the brothers had access to the finest education and luxuries. However, on August 20th, 1989, their lives took a dark turn when they brutally murdered their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez, in their luxurious home. The crime scene was gruesome, with both parents shot multiple times.
When I walked in the room, I was panicking, and I just fired every shot I had. I just fired until there was nothing left.
My brother got there first, and we just burst through the doors, and I started firing.
I was just firing as I went into the room. I just started firing.
In what direction?
In front of me.
What was in front of you?
My parents.
The brothers initially claimed they discovered the bodies after returning from a movie, but their lavish spending in the weeks following the murders raised suspicions. They purchased luxury cars, expensive watches, and even went on international trips. Investigators began to question their alibi, and eventually Eric confessed to his psychologist, leading to their arrest in March 1990. During the trial, the defense argued that the brothers acted in self-defense after enduring years of sexual and emotional abuse at the hands of their father. The prosecution, however, painted a picture of greed, suggesting the murders were motivated by a desire to inherit the family fortune. After two high-profile trials, both brothers were convicted in 1996 of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. They are currently incarcerated at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. In recent years, there has been renewed interest in their case, with discussions about potential resentencing due to evolving perspectives of abuse and trauma. As of now, Lyle remains behind bars for a long time. Number 11. Sean Diddy Combs. Sean Diddy Combs, born in 1969, rose to fame in the 1990s as a rapper, producer, and entrepreneur, founding Bad Boy Records and launching the careers of artists like the Notorious B.I.G. However, in September 2024, Combs was arrested on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The indictment alleges that from 2004 onwards, he orchestrated a network that exploited women, including minors, pressuring them into sexual acts under the guise of his glamorous lifestyle. Further accusations detail instances of physical assault, drugging, and intimidation to maintain control over his victims.
Sean Diddy Combs is accused of creating a criminal enterprise of using employees, resources, and influence to allegedly carry out crimes, including sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The previously reported March 2016 Los Angeles hotel video showing Diddy attacking singer Cassie was referenced.
Notably, a lawsuit filed by his former partner, Cassie Ventura, accused him of rape and abuse, which was settled out of court. As of January 2025, additional indictments have emerged, introducing new victims and expanding the scope of the allegations. Combs has pleaded not guilty and is currently held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, awaiting a trial set for May 5, 2025. If convicted, he faces the possibility of spending the rest of his life in prison, marking a dramatic fall from grace for the once celebrated mogul. Number 12. Taymor Trayvon McIntyre. Famous by his stage name, Tay-K, Taymor Trayvon McIntyre gained a bad reputation in 2017 for his viral hit, The Race, which detailed his experience evading law enforcement. In July 2016, he was involved in a home invasion in Mansfield, Texas, which led to the murder of 21-year-old Ethan Walker. Placed under house arrest awaiting trial, Tay-K cut off his ankle monitor in March 2017 and went on the run, documenting his flight in The Race. The song's success brought him fame, but also intensified the manhunt. He was apprehended in New Jersey in June 2017. In July 2019, Tay-K was convicted of murder and 3 counts of aggravated robbery, receiving a 55-year prison sentence.
A jury in Fort Worth is deciding on a murder sentence for teen rapper Tay-K. 19-year-old Taymor McIntyre is facing up to life in prison for his role in the murder of Ethan Walker. Jurors watched the video during the trial for his hit song, The Race.
He is currently incarcerated in the Beto unit in Texas. His case has sparked debates about the influence of music on behavior and the criminal justice system's handling of young defenders. Number 13. Mark Gator Rogowski. In the 1980s, Mark Gator Rogowski was a household name in the skateboarding world. His innovative tricks and charismatic persona earned him sponsorships, magazine covers, and a legion of fans. However, as the skateboarding scene shifted from vert ramps to street skating in the late 80s, Rogowski struggled to adapt, which caused a major decline in his career and personal life. In March 1991, Rogowski committed a monstrous crime that shocked the nation. He raped and murdered 22-year-old Jessica Bernstein, a friend of his ex-girlfriend. After assaulting her, he beat her up with a steering wheel lock, suffocated her, and disposed of her body in a shallow grave in the desert. Overwhelmed by guilt, Rogowski confessed of the crime and was subsequently arrested. In 1992, he pleaded guilty to first-degree murder and was sentenced to 31 years to life in prison. Despite multiple parole hearings, his requests for release have been denied, and he remains incarcerated.
A former professional skateboarder and now convicted killer may be on his way to being a free man after spending more than 30 years in prison. But tonight, CBS 8's Steve Fiorina tells us the victim's family and friends are hoping a parole recommendation is once again rejected by the governor.
Number 14, Jen Shah. Jen Shah gained fame as a cast member of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, where she caught the audiences with her lavish lifestyle and bold personality. However, behind the glitz and glamour lay a web of deceit. From 2012 until her arrest in March 2021, Shah was involved in a nationwide telemarketing scheme that targeted vulnerable individuals, particularly the elderly. She and her co-conspirators sold false business services and promised financial success, but ultimately defrauded victims of their savings. In July 2022, Shah pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. She admitted to knowingly participating in the scheme and profiting from the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. In January 2023, she was sentenced to 78 months in federal prison and ordered to forfeit $6.5 million and pay restitution up to $9.5 million.
Yeah, the sentence for reality star Jen Shah, 6.5 years behind bars. The reality star from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City is heading to prison after pleading guilty to her involvement with a telemarketing scheme.
Number 15, Michael Jace. Michael Jace was best known for his role as Officer Julian Lowe on the FX series The Shield. His portrayal of a conflicted police officer garnered him critical acclaim. However, his personal life was spoiled by financial difficulties and marital strife. On May 19, 2014, in his Los Angeles home, Jace shot and killed his wife, April Jace, in front of their 2 young sons. He called 911 and reported the shooting, stating, "I shot my wife." During the trial, prosecutors argued that Jace was motivated by jealousy and anger over his wife's desire to separate. Witnesses testified about prior incidences of domestic violence, painting a picture of a troubled marriage. In May 2016, Jace was found guilty of second-degree murder, and in June 2016 was sentenced to 40 years to life in prison.
It was an emotional day for the family of April Jace as they sat in the courtroom behind her killer. Former actor Michael Jace was sentenced to 40 years to life behind bars after a jury found him guilty of second-degree murder, more than 2 years after he gunned down his wife.
He is currently incarcerated at the Corcoran State Prison in California. Number 16, Josh Duggar. For years, Josh Duggar played the role of the perfect son in 19 Kids and Counting, TLC's hit reality show about the ultra-conservative Duggar family. He preached family values, worked with political groups, and presented himself as a devoted husband and father. But behind the scenes, he was hiding a sickening secret. Josh's downfall began in 2015 when reports surfaced that he had molested 5 young girls, including some of his own sisters when he was a teenager. The scandal forced TLC to cancel the family show. But since the crimes were past the law of limitations, he faced no legal consequences. Duggar publicly apologized, but just months later, he was exposed for cheating on his wife using the infidelity website Ashley Madison. While that damaged his reputation, it wasn't the crime that would put him behind bars. In April 2021, federal agents raided Josh Duggar's used car lot in Springdale, Arkansas, after discovering that someone at the dealership had downloaded child sexual abuse material. The FBI found disturbing images and videos on his work computer, some described as among the worst they had ever seen. Investigators also uncovered sophisticated software designed to bypass detection that proved Duggar knew exactly what he was doing. Despite pleading guilty, Duggar was convicted in December 2021 on charges of receiving and possessing child pornography.
The Josh Duggar child pornography case is officially closed.
On Wednesday, Josh was sentenced to 151 months in prison, and that's nearly 13 years behind bars.
In May 2022, he was sentenced to 12 years and 7 months in federal prison, followed by 20 years of supervised release. He is currently serving his sentence at CFI Seagoville in Texas, with a projected release date in 2034. Duggar has attempted to appeal his conviction, but so far, the courts aren't budging. Number 17, R. Kelly. At one point, R. Kelly was untouchable. The mastermind behind I Believe I Can Fly, Bump and Grind, Ignition, Remix, and countless other hits, he dominated the R&B charts for decades. But while he was making music, he was also running a horrific predatory operation behind closed doors, one that would take years to finally bring down. The first allegations against Kelly surfaced in the late 1990s, with rumors that he had inappropriate relationships with underage girls, including his illegal 1994 marriage to 15-year-old Aaliyah, for which he allegedly falsified documents claiming she was 18. In 2002, Kelly was indicted on child pornography charges after a videotape surfaced, allegedly showing him sexually abusing a 14-year-old girl. The tape became infamous, but in 2008, after years of delays, Kelly was acquitted when the victim and her family refused to testify. She claimed it wasn't her in the footage. Without their testimony, prosecutors couldn't prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and Kelly walked free. But the allegations never stopped. Over 25 women came forward over the years. They accused him of sexual abuse, coercion, and operating a predatory sex cult.
Didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I got y'all 30.
Many of his victims were teenage girls who were lured in with promises of a music career, but were instead subjected to physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. Some were locked in rooms for days, forced to ask permission to eat and use the bathroom, and were completely cut off from their families. For decades, Kelly dodged consequences by paying off victims, intimidating witnesses, and using his wealth and influence to silence critics. But in 2019, everything changed when the Surviving R. Kelly docuseries aired. The shocking testimonies from his survivors reignited public outrage and led authorities to reopen multiple investigations. In September 2021, Kelly was convicted in New York federal court on charges of racketeering and sex trafficking for running an organized criminal enterprise that recruited, groomed, and abused young women and minors. In June 2022, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison. But his legal troubles weren't over. In 2022, in a separate trial in Chicago, he was convicted on 3 counts of producing child sexual abuse material and 3 counts of enticing a minor into sexual activity. This time, the victims testified and broke years of silence. In February 2023, Kelly was sentenced to 20 more years in prison, with 1 year to be served consecutively after his New York sentence. Now, R. Kelly is incarcerated in Butner Federal Correctional Complex in North Carolina, with a release date of 2053. Number 18, Kris Wu. Kris Wu, born Wu Yifan, was once one of the biggest stars in Asia and beyond. A former member of the K-pop group EXO, he later became a successful solo artist, actor, and brand ambassador. His fame brought him millions of fans and high-profile endorsements, making him one of China's most influential celebrities. But in 2021, his entire career and reputation came crashing down when horrifying allegations surfaced against him. It all started in July 2021, when 19-year-old Chinese student Du Maizhu accused Wu of luring young women, some underage, under the pretense of helping their careers, only to sexually assault them. She claimed that Wu had raped her while she was intoxicated and unable to consent. The allegations caused a massive public backlash, and as the investigation continued, more victims came forward. What initially seemed like a single accusation quickly turned into a disturbing pattern of predatory behavior.
A Beijing court sentenced Canadian singer Kris Wu to 13 years in jail on Friday for crimes including rape. A former member of K-pop group EXO, the superstar was born in China and returned there in 2014 to pursue a lucrative solo career. The court in the district of Chaoyang said on its official WeChat account that from November to December 2020, Wu, quote, took advantage of 3 drunken women at his home.
By November 2022, the Chaoyang District People's Court in Beijing found Kris Wu guilty of raping 3 women between November and December 2020. He was sentenced to 11 years and 6 months in prison for those crimes. But that wasn't all. Wu also received an additional 1 year and 10 months for assembling a crowd to engage in promiscuous activities related to a 2018 incident where he and others allegedly organized lewd gatherings. In total, his sentence amounted to 13 years behind bars. On top of that, Wu was fined 600 million yen, around $84 million, for tax-related crimes, further solidifying his downfall. Once he completes his prison sentence, he'll be deported back to Canada, as he is not a Chinese citizen. Wu's conviction was a major moment for China's #MeToo movement, which proved that not even the most powerful celebrities are above the law. Number 19, Sirhan Sirhan. The night of June 5th, 1968 was supposed to be a historic moment in American politics. Senator Robert F. Kennedy had just won the California Democratic primary and moved one step closer to becoming President of the United States. But within minutes of giving his victory speech at the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles, tragedy struck. As he walked through a hotel's kitchen pantry, a gunman opened fire that changed the course of history forever.
The possible release of the man who assassinated Robert Kennedy 53 years ago is dividing the family of the former U.S. presidential candidate and senator.
Get the gun, Raper!
In June of 1968, Kennedy's 10 children lost their father when Sirhan Sirhan shot him in the kitchen hallway of the Ambassador Hotel in Los Angeles.
The shooter was Sirhan Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian immigrant whose motives were deeply political. He was angry about Kennedy's support for Israel and believed that assassinating him would change U.S. foreign policy. Armed with a .22 caliber revolver, Sirhan fired multiple shots at close range, hitting Kennedy and injuring 5 others. One bullet struck behind Kennedy's right ear and caused fatal brain damage. Despite emergency surgery, Kennedy died the next day on June 6, 1968. Sirhan was immediately tackled and arrested at the scene. During his trial, he admitted to the killing but claimed he had no memory of it, leading to debates about his mental state. In 1969, he was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. However, in 1972, when California briefly abolished the death penalty, Sirhan's sentence was commuted to life in prison. For decades, Sirhan has applied for parole multiple times, each attempt sparking controversy. In 2021, a California parole board actually recommended his release, citing his remorse and rehabilitation. However, several members of the Kennedy family opposed it, and the governor blocked his parole, keeping him behind bars.
Senator Robert F. Kennedy's assassin, Sirhan Sirhan, is once again denied parole by a board in California. The panel saying he still lacks insight into why he committed the crime. Sirhan shot and killed Senator Kennedy in Los Angeles at a hotel in 1968. Kennedy was only 42 years old.
Now in his 80s, Sirhan remains in California's Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility, where he has spent over 50 years behind bars. His name will forever be linked to one of the most shocking assassinations in American history. And number 20, Jesse James Hollywood. Jesse James Hollywood had a name fit for fame, but instead of Hollywood stardom, he became infamous for orchestrating one of the most chilling crimes of the early 2000s. A small-time drug dealer in California, Hollywood let a $1,200 drug debt spiral into a brutal kidnapping and murder that would shock the nation. In August 2000, Hollywood and his associates abducted 15-year-old Nicholas Markowitz in retaliation for his half-brother, Ben Markowitz, failing to pay a drug debt. Nicholas, unaware of the trouble between his brother and Hollywood, was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Over the next few days, Nicholas was held captive, attending parties with his captors, unaware of the tragic fate awaiting him. While some people saw him during this time, no one reported it to the police. Realizing that kidnapping a minor carried serious legal consequences, Hollywood decided to eliminate Nicholas to cover his tracks. He ordered Ryan Hoyt, one of his associates, to carry out the killing. On August 9, 2000, Hoyt took Nicholas to a remote area in the Santa Ynez Mountains, bound him with duct tape, and shot him multiple times. His body was discovered 3 days later, buried in a shallow grave. Hollywood fled to Brazil and evaded capture for 5 years and lived under an alias. However, in 2005, authorities finally tracked him down and extradited him to the United States. In 2009, he was convicted of kidnapping and first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. Now serving his sentence in California's maximum security prison, Jesse James Hollywood went from a street-level drug dealer to a real-life cautionary tale.
A Santa Barbara judge has sentenced Jesse James Hollywood to life in prison without the possibility of parole after denying his request for a new trial. Hollywood was found guilty of first-degree murder in July. Prosecutors say he planned the kidnapping and killing of 15-year-old Nicholas Markowitz back in August of 2000.
One whose story became immortalized in the 2006 film Alpha Dog. And that was all, from musicians to actors, political assassins to masterminds of horrific schemes. Each of them had a choice, and each of them threw it all away. Some will never see the outside world again, while others will eventually be released, but their names will always be stained by the crimes they committed. What do you think about these cases? Were some of these sentences fair? Or do you think any of them deserved worse? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what is coming next.